What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to High School Never Ends, a pop punk dad podcast. I am Wingman Steve.
And I'm Chris183.
Chris is happy that November is coming to an end, and here we are at the end of November, Thanksgiving time. Last week, we did not without a fight. Listen, guys, we're skipping over radio surgery, and we are here for some resurrection. A lot has happened since this time. The band left Epitaph Records. They shed a band member. They released a live album. And so we are going to get into it, and we have some guests. We actually had, when we announced Newfound November, we had quite the overwhelming response of, hey, man, I want to come on Newfound November. Why are you shaking your head?
No, I'm just shaking my head because I'm mad.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, yes, we had quite the overwhelming response. And I said, Chris, these people want to come on and talk Newfound November. Who do we ask? And so Chris answered the first two people that got to us in the DMs. And here they are. I'll let Chris introduce them.
And I will introduce them. So these two individuals have names. And yes, these guys are big fans. And actually, when I wasn't listening to anything you said, Steve. So if I repeat what you just said, I will.
What do you do when I'm talking?
I don't know. I just
What
don't
are you
listen.
thinking about?
I'm thinking about other things.
We're recording the show. I should have your undivided attention.
Well, it's exciting because when you said, should we get Andy or Steve on to the show to do this particular episode, I said, why not just have them both? These guys are both big fans of this band. They both deserve to have a voice when it comes to Newfound November. So, Andy and Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Steve. Glad to be back.
Thanks, guys. Always good to go cover another classic drive-through band. I wish drive-through summer would never end. My life has basically been in drive-through summer, so keep it going.
It doesn't have to end, Steve. It can go on for as long as you'd like. We could talk about it anytime you want. And we're going to talk about it today. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of this particular album, I do want to shout out our patrons out there. Obviously, out there, we've been talking about our brand new Patreon that's available to all of you with some really, really cool exclusive content that we're going to continue to produce. But we're going to shout out our patrons. So Nick, returning patron, and then brand new to the Patreon site, we have Sam and Jason. Thank you guys so much for your support.
Yes, the family is growing, so hop in there. Go to the link in our thingamajiggers and you'll find it. Anyways, all right, guys. Newfound November. Chris, you had said that you were mad. You're not happy? You're angry that Newfound November is coming to a close?
Well, no, that is not true. I'm okay with the fact that it's coming to a close. This month did seem like it was 6 months in duration because of this, but there were points where I was fine with the choices that we made. I think that if you go back and listen to some of the episodes, you'll see that I was pleasantly surprised by a couple of the albums that I never really listened to in the past. So, good for Newfound Glory, but unfortunately, I guess, well, again, I always give things away early, but yes, unfortunately, now we have Resurrection. So I think we'll get to that. But that's where I'm at. That's where my headspace is at right now.
That's rough. I thought actually going back to our original episode that this was, most of the later catalog, you liked a little bit more, but maybe not. Let's shoot it over to Andy and Steve. Andy, what do you guys remember about Resurrection? Has this been one that's at the top of your list, one that you love, or is this one that's kind of just another one there?
So, I've been a lifetime Newfound Glory fan. From back in high school, I found their first Fiddler Records EP, and this one I would say falls kind of right in the middle. As far it's definitely not the bottom of the pack, but it's not up in my top three. It's definitely a different theme for the band. It's a lot darker, kind of angrier, almost more of a mature album. You can really see some resilience and growth. We'll probably kind of discuss it as we go through, but they went through, major lineup change, seriously tough times. And there's a lot of really good, I call them almost muscular riffs or really catchy leads through here. So it's a great album. But it definitely does show that that transition time with the band.
Steve, what are your thoughts? What's your initial reaction to Resurrection?
This was a big album for me. I felt like I had like aged out of the scene for a while there. I remember going to like Newfound Glory shows, during the Catalyst and Coming Home era, and just being like, I'm in my early 20s and looking around, and most of the crowd is 15 and 16, and kind of like, not as into. I wouldn't say not as into the shows, but kind of sad that some of the staples that I grew up loving from Newfound Glory were kind of falling out of the set list a little bit to make way for the newer stuff. And I didn't Catalyst and Coming Home didn't hit me the way their first three albums did. So I actually didn't, I didn't buy Not Without a Fight when it came out. I didn't buy Radio Surgery when it came out. And it was really the live album, the Kill It Live came out. And I remember buying that and listening to the new songs at the end of that album. It's like, oh, you know what? They still got it. They're still writing good songs. And then picking up Resurrection and being like, okay, like I feel this. I still love these guys. So it was a resurrection for the band. Obviously, kind of a new beginning after departing from their longtime lyricist. And I felt that for me too, because it was like my way, kind of like to rediscover my love of this band, as well as kind of it led me to kind of bring me back into the pop punk scene to some degree. So it's an album I've always really strongly connected with.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say it was also, it was their first time on Hopeless, and they kind of chose a producer. I think it was Paul Miner, who used to play in a band called Death by Stereo, really known for more of his kind of hardcore stuff, H2O, Atreyu, Thrice, and those kind of bands. And he really kind of, again, gave the band this almost like a fresh start, like Steve just mentioned, first time as a four-piece. And even, if you compare their album art before and then this album, they used to have, bright kind of neon, real kind of poppy images. And this is just a plain monochrome black and white album. So you can really see a major change here in this album. And definitely, I think it reinvigorated the fan base.
Yeah, so for me, I don't know, it didn't reinvigorate me. I went on like a Newfound Glory lull, I think right after about Coming Home. I didn't, we did the Not Without a Fight episode last week, and I didn't really dig Radio Surgery. And whenever Resurrection came out, I was, not really super excited about it. I remember like listening to it and being like, all right, I guess I'm over Newfound Glory. I guess I just like old Newfound Glory, which, is understandable. And I never really gave it all that much of a listen. And since then, I've heard a couple of the songs here and there, but I have a little bit of a, I guess a fresher take on this album because I didn't give it a whole lot of time back in the day. And so I was actually very pleasantly surprised, and I enjoyed this listen through.
Yeah. I think I'm on the wrong show, guys. I'm not. This is not going to work out. I don't know how else to put it. Do you guys know what the pop punk, like what were people doing in pop punk in 2014? What were the bands that people liked?
Well, I guess,
then?
the 2010s is when like you had the generation of like State Champs and Neck Deep coming up. So that was big. I think also
Wonder Years,
like the Midwest emo stuff started to be a real thing, like the Front Bottoms, that sort of thing. So I feel like those were the two different directions that the pop punk scene was going. But then again, I hadn't really dipped my foot entirely into it back then. So if someone else wants to correct me and feels differently, go ahead.
Well, I think you make a good point there, Steve. I mean, for some of the classic pop punk bands, there was a little bit of a lull there. I mean, at this time, I saw Newfound Glory in a small little club that maybe held a couple hundred people. I don't remember what tour it was, but it was 200 people in the club. And then 2 years later, they were playing a House of Blues. So there definitely was a bit of a lull around this time. But I think that this might have done something to the scene. I want to say this was right around, maybe they did a tour, the Glamour Kills tour, the Pop Punk's Not Dead tour. And I think that kind of maybe jump started some things that were going on here.
And it's interesting you bring up touring because they really play very little from this album. Like, they do a lot of themed tours, but for most albums, there's usually a a song or two that you can pull out and be like, oh, they play that one a lot, but there's not too much. I'm trying to think the last few times I saw New Found Glory. I definitely remember I saw Vicious Love in the past like couple of years, but I don't even know if I remember them doing Selfless, or do you guys remember them playing any of these?
I feel like up until around 2019, Selfless was a staple, and like since then, it's kind of fallen out of the set list. Ready and Willing, I feel like, is one of those songs they try to get in the set list, every now and then. I guess we'll get to Vicious Love, but there's reasons why I think Vicious Love became kind of like a song that people recognized and responded to. But yeah, I think those are these days it's either Ready and Willing or Vicious Love that seem most likely to find their way into a set when they're not doing full album sets or things like that.
And I saw them around this time with Yellow Card, and they didn't even play the full album. Like they may have played 3 or 4 songs off of it, and then they went back to kind of their mainstays. So yeah, there's definitely, I think, some contention around this album. But there are some gems hidden in there.
So segueing back into my original point that we went off topic for, and I don't like when we go off topic. I think we got to stay on topic. The top bands of 2014 only, guys. I think you were giving too big of a time period. What do you think the top 5 bands of 2014 were in the pop punk scene? Can you guess one of the 5? And New Found Glory cannot be your guess. And actually, they're not on this list. What's
the criteria, though? Is it album sales? Is it number one?
Why do you have to question my criteria all the time?
I think that's irrelevant. How can you answer?
What is this? This is my game. This isn't yours. No, the answer is it's the top 5. Let me give you the title of this. And I looked this up on a very credible site that has a lot of pop-ups, but it doesn't matter because it says the best pop punk albums of 2014. The best.
So that means they came out in 2014.
The best.
Like they released in 2014. That's what I'm just trying to figure out.
The best pop punk albums of 2014. So just give me one.
Who's going first?
I think this is going to be tough for you, Steve, but go ahead. So what about Steve? What about the other Steve? What do you think?
I can't think off the top of my head of any. Like, it's basically like this album, and because I think Paramore's self-titled came out in 2013, if memory's before you framed it as top albums of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Paramore was pretty big around this time because they had just won the Grammy for Best Song. But I don't think that album came out in 2014. So
it did not. It's a good guess. It's a good guess, but it is not on the top 5. So I will give you thanks for honorable mention for that one. But nope. So Andy, don't let us down.
I'm torn between 2. I'm gonna throw Neck Deep out there. I don't know. I can't remember I remember the album art, but I can't remember the name of the album. But I feel like Neck Deep might have released an album right around this time.
So Neck Deep was in 2014. They did come out with an album. I think it was, I forget the name of it. It had like a magician on the front or something like that, or something like that.
I think it had Can't Kick Up the Roots on it.
That was not one of these top 5
Life's
that I'm looking at right
get
here.
You.
Oh, yes.
Steve, do you feel like you have a guess without looking it up like you're doing?
I'm not looking it up, I promise. I like to play along with the games. I just got to know what the game is. I think my guess would be a band that wasn't really pop punk at the time. Did Panic at the Disco come out with something around that time?
Who?
Panic at the Disco?
I'm sorry, that was not correct. I don't know. They may have come out with something in 2014, but that's not on my list. So here, let me give you the list for all of you playing along out there that are listening to this. What are we calling this? A show? This show. Number 5 was 5 Seconds of Summer. 5 Seconds of Summer. It had a 67 review. So there's number 5. Number 4 was the Buzzcocks, The Way. That had a 68 review. Number 3 was a band by the name of Shonen Knife, and the album was Overdrive. Never heard of that band. Number 2 was the Muffs, Whoop-De-Doo. And number 1, and I saw this on several different sites as the number 1 album pop punk for that year was Joyce Manor, Never Hung Over Again. And I've seen this cover, this Joyce Manor cover, many different times. And
I should have known that because I just saw them do a 10-year anniversary set. So that one slipped my mind. So,
I've never
that makes
listened to
sense.
Joyce Manor. Are they any good?
They're more. My wife's more into them than me. They're more like indie punk, so they're a little more hit or miss for my taste. They have the song "Heart Tattoo," which is a an awesome song, but also all their songs are like under 2 minutes, so it's very like ADD punk. Yeah, so
Got
but
it.
they're
Well,
fun.
the reason why I did this exercise, it wasn't just because I like to go off topic. It was because I wanted to get the feel for what music was like in 2014 and compare it against Resurrection and see if there was any kind of similarity or feeling. You know, when you think about the early 2000s, it has a sound. When you think about the later 2000s, it has a sound. When you think about the late 90s, pop punk, it has a distinct sound. This is all, again, what I think. So, what does 2014 sound like? And unfortunately, I guess I just don't know what 2014 sounds like because a lot of these bands I'm unfamiliar with. So, I guess I'm just going to have to go with what I heard on this album. And most of you guys will too.
All right, you guys want to get into the album then?
Sure, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Unless there's something else you have.
Yeah, so it came out October 7th, 2014. Mentioned it was on Hopeless Records, produced by Paul Miner and Newfound Glory. The first album as a four-piece after Steve Klein was kicked out, left the band. It got to number 25 on the Billboard 200. It narrowly oversold Yellow Card's Lift a Sail, which came out in the exact same day. It outsold them by 100 copies, which is pretty crazy, and got to number 3 on the U.S. Alternative Albums chart. So that's a little bit of stats about it, and it's time to live selfless, guys. Who wants to go first?
Let's go. Actually, Steve, why don't you go first?
Me, Steve.
Oh, which Steve? Right? Wingman Steve, you go first.
Okay. So, like I said, I had taken not like a hiatus or, it wasn't turned off by Newfound Glory, but I wasn't like super into Newfound Glory in 2014. I kind of was like, all right, I'll see these guys as kind of a nostalgia act, and I'll love all the things that I loved from before, but I wasn't super into it. This first song has a killer guitar line that drives the entire song, kind of like, very like a My Friends Over You-esque kind of thing. There are awesome harmonies throughout this entire song. I really like the pre-chorus and the chorus. It's a very strong follow-up to start this album off to an album I will say I didn't particularly like that much, which was Radio Surgery. There's a couple of like meh lyrics in there. So, when Steve was making, do I like the bitter dinosaur line? Nah, not really. I'm just a dust in the breeze, but I want to be a hurricane. All right. It's not like lyrically amazing, but overall, I think this is a really strong opening track and follows their pattern for doing so.
All right.
You guys hear
Andy.
most of what I said? Hopefully I wasn't cutting out. Okay. Just want to make sure. I got internet stuff going on.
Andy, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to kind of follow up when Steve said, this is a great opener. It has that powerful guitar intro. It kind of sets the tone for the entire album. It gives you that resilience, that perseverance. I mean, Newfound Glory has kind of always been one of those, carpe diem type bands. They have this spirit, that kind of, the song urges everybody to kind of live life to the fullest. I mean, there's that, I want to live selfless instead of just floating by, living every day like it's my last, catch up on the sleep when I die. And then you hit that bridge, and there's just the drums on the bridge you just drive that bridge really strong, great guitar riff. And I think it just kind of sets the stage for, hey, this is the Newfound Glory. There's 4 of us here, and we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere.
Other Steve.
Yeah, I think I kind of love the way that this starts. I mean, they're Newfound Glory. I think as you covered in prior episodes, they're good at picking opening tracks, and this one, it sets the tone. It's hitting you hard right from the get go, like da 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 da, like just right comes right at you from the beginning. I think I hear what Steve's saying about the lyrics. I agree to some extent.
Just those
I think like it's kind of funny with this like super hard like riff and song, and it's like kind of like being a better person, which is fine. I just always felt like the message and the tone of the song were maybe didn't jive completely. But I've talked to other New Found Glory fans who think, find it to be a really inspiring song to them. So that's cool. This is an album like I don't think I mentioned this before, but like it was like one of those albums that just was like sat in like our car for like the better part of a year, like listening to it over and over again. So there's certain like lyrical bits I've like picked out that are, just like if you spend too much time thinking about it, like the whole thing, I can catch up on my sleep when I die. Like at first it's like, okay, that seems okay, but the more you think about it, it's like, why are you losing sleep being a better person? Like, are you a volunteer EMT at night? Are you Batman? Like, I'm not really sure. There's an easier way to do this. You don't have to, only get 4 hours of sleep to meet your goals. But anyway, the things I think about listening to these songs over and over again. It's a killer track when they do it live. I'm kind of bummed that it seemed like it was going to be a forever setlist staple, and it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore, which makes me a little sad. But it absolutely kills when they play it live. So hopefully they'll bring it back at some point.
I try and make it a point to stay up as long as I can because I feel it's a waste of time to sleep. So I kind of agree with this. You're not doing anything when you're sleeping. You could be doing so much other stuff.
Sleeping is so nice. It feels good on the body.
How do you know you're asleep?
Resting. I love sleeping.
But then you can't catch up on your shows, or you can't do this podcast. You can't do anything. You're done.
That's okay. There's more tomorrow.
Yeah, sleep later. I'll tell you what, like this song has some interesting components. So we talked about initially, how I kind of went into this show and ho hum. I thought that, okay, so you're starting off with something, decent with, again, some fun components, I guess. The stair step up and down riff. You guys talked about all this stuff, but it definitely something that stuck out to me. Let's see, the fast paced drum part later in the song I thought was a standout for sure. Not gonna ever argue with the harder guitars, and this song, this album goes through some periods of using harder guitars. Sometimes it works, sometimes it saves a song, sometimes it doesn't really matter. This is one where it kind of goes, I think, in harmony with the melody very well, and I think it actually, kind of goes with the gimmick of the song itself. I think the guitar riff is the gimmick of the song. It's what hooks you in, and it's what caught my interest the most is that up and down, that question and answer, riff that they have there. So decent, right? Good start to the album. Definitely something that made me want to continue to listen, especially once again off of this exercise coming off the last album we talked about. I was interested to delve further into the catalog to see if it was going to be more of the same, more of what I liked about the previous album we talked about, and this song kind of kicked it off in that way. So decent, selfless. The worst person. So we're going to start here. We're going to start here with Andy. I don't have a segue, but you're not the worst person, Andy.
Resurrection's the second track. Sorry.
Yeah.
I see. I skipped ahead because I do not really pay attention to this at all.
You skipped the titular track?
The titular track, yeah.
So I guarantee you that I do not. I didn't listen to the song then. So you guys just talk about it.
Well, Andy, right. You're queued up. Go for it.
Sure. So again, this is the titular track, and it starts with a kind of a talking intro there. It's not important what happens around us or even to us. The important thing is what happens in us. And this really gives this defiant anthemic feel, really a really kind of a aggressive edge, and this really could be the track that shows the band's renewed energy. They're coming from being a 5-piece, and the member of the band that leaves was definitely one of the major lyricists of the band. And, at times, like it's kind of been mentioned already, some of the lyrics do feel a little clunky and, they're not flowing perfectly, but the band's kind of growing into their shoes. And actually there's a couple lines on this song that, if you kind of read between the lyrics, it's just good to know that your breakdown has been put in its right place. Is that maybe a little bit of a stab at Steve? And they actually, I think they might be calling back one of their songs off an EP from 2008, "Tip of the Iceberg," with the line "Criticize my mistakes while you dug your own grave." They had a really great track on that EP called "Dig My Own Grave." And as this album progresses, there's a bunch of really, really great guest vocals. And right around the 2:05 mark at this song, Scott Vogel from Terror comes in and just adds that hardcore kind of growl to it. And I think it really ties the track together and just kind of really shows where this band's going, what they're all about.
Steve C, go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny, like, because I don't think I realized back when I originally listened to this album that it was a guest vocalist, and like listening to it now, I'm like, wait a second, that's not Chad screaming there. But Chad would do the screaming part live, and it sounded great. So it was like, wait a second. I absolutely love the chorus of the song. The so long, so long. That just like gets me. It's just it totally works for me. I thought it was where a good titular track, I guess. It's about moving on from Steve's departure, and how they feel better about where they are as a band and what the future looks like, and taking down the pictures off the wall and never felt so good. Chad Gilbert was working on a side project like up until this time, What's Eating Gilbert, and I think like Chad, the last time Chad did that was maybe right before this album came out, right around the time they kicked Steve out of the band. So I think, Chad definitely presumably had a lot of issues with Steve and was not having as much fun. And it was, harming his experience in the band. And, this basically like gave them new life. So, and they've always been, they don't, want to talk much about Steve or the past or what have you. They put out one statement when, he was out of the band, and like this song and I think the next song are really their ways to communicate to their fan base and audience, this is what happened and this is where we're at and we think we're better for it. Like many songs on this album, has a really great end. Like I love the "Therefore We Will Not Lose Heart," "Turn This Around," "Live a New Day," "These Troubled Times woke my strength to watch my resurrection." Like, I just think they a lot throughout this album, even some of the lesser songs, they just have some really good ideas for how to end it. Like and a lot of New Found Glory songs, the bridge is like my go-to, but re-listening to this album, like they just really figured out some really cool song endings in addition to lots of other great things they do, like great riffs and sing-along choruses. So but in terms of this track, it's another shining star on this album for me.
Great riffs, I'll say yes. Great choruses, I'll say yes. I felt a lot of the bridges. I feel like New Found Glory to me are kind of known for good bridges, and this one in this song, I don't know, I found it a little campy. Whether it was Chad or somebody else, I didn't think that the scream added all that much. I didn't think it was fantastic. I tried to look up the quote in the beginning. I couldn't find out what the hell it was. I got all these like inspirational things when I looked it up. And also important, I think it was about this time that Ian, I think, got divorced too. So some of these songs may have some dual themes about, resurrection as a band, or kind of changing as a person, or, they're at the point in their life where these guys may be, splitting up and starting something new. In terms of the song itself, this is another one that just fucking slaps. Curious that like it's the album title. I wonder if they had internal discussion on whether it should be song number 1 or song number 2. But again, I don't remember them playing this live. Do you guys remember them? Was this a statement? They don't play it now.
Yeah, I think when it first came out, they played it live. It was on the first like 2 tours they did after the album came out. It was in the set list.
All right, but now we're like 10 years later, and it's like I feel like this entire album has just kind of fallen off their live list for the most part, other than maybe one here and there. I guess again they do a lot of these themes, but I thought this song pretty much was awesome. I think that songs 1 and 2 are really good, and this is a fantastic start to a New Found Glory album. So it does kind of jar me back to some of those days of the the self-titles and the Sticks and Stones, where those first handful are just fucking awesome. And we've made some comments about albums being top heavy, so we'll see when we get to it as we progress. But All right, we can go on to the worst person. Chris, you wanna kick that off?
Yeah, and let's just for the record, I'll say again, I totally skipped that track because I'm so happy about that actually because I just kind of listened to it now in my ear as you guys were talking, and I was not a fan. I'm sorry. Like I know you guys love this song, and I could hear it in your voices, and I can feel the emotion, but it just seems like newfound glory trope to me, and I don't care about their resurrection, unfortunately, but the song itself just kind of dragged. Again, going into the worst person, I thought it was a little bit better. I like this one a little bit better than Resurrection. I thought it had a better melody. I definitely thought that the riff here, and I think that I was a little confused. So I thought that I was talking about this riff when we were talking about Selfless. That one still had a good riff to it, but this one, this guitar riff on this song, is the one that kind of goes question and answer, goes up and then down. That like, and I think that's kind of cool, right? So it definitely was something that was memorable with the music. The only problem with this song is, and I know that there's some kind of underlying theme, and I think Steve C, you alluded to that in real life, what it meant. I just think if you throw that out and you don't know anything about anything going on with the band, you just think about it as a song itself. It's like, this song, it's a newfound glory. It's a pop punk band with the spike collars and the all that stuff. And talking about someone being the worst person, it just seems like a caricature of a pop punk song in that way. And so I connected with it in no way, shape, or form. I thought the lyrics were just kind of cheesy and not great. And I don't think that the music was enough to save it. So if I don't listen to the words and just kind of fade those out into the background, I think it's a song I could get into. But with all of those lyrics, I kind of just left this one on the scrap heap. So I don't know. Whoever wants it next, I'll stop calling on people. We could just go whenever you feel like talking.
I'll pop in here. So you'd mentioned you think that this song is, potentially, most likely about Steve Klein. I think I read that to be true, and it's a fucking assault. This is like taking this dude to war, and a lot of stuff has come out about kind of what happened since then, and it's a pretty strong move to like kick a man when he's down. I guess that they were pretty upset and maybe they didn't know the whole story, but it's almost like after this first verse, they just add this musical pause. So you can just kind of think back and you can be like, did they just say that? Like, what did they just say? Like, they're giving you time to digest what they're saying here. I kind of feel like in retrospect, like, if you were to ask them, and I don't think they talk about this a whole lot, I feel like they might want to take this one back. However, the chorus is very, very catchy. I'm a sucker for the gang vocals in it. It's easy to bop along to. It is, easy pop punk for sure. The one line that popped out to me as like, damn, that is kind of ironic is he goes, by now, there's no use in trying to fool me because I know the full story. Well, I don't think anybody knew the fucking full story for quite some time, and now it's out. So I thought that was a little bit ironic. But again, it's a pretty good track. I don't know if it deserves that number 3 spot, but it's pretty good. Andy, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of kind of my thoughts and feelings have been said. It's definitely, a very, very aggressive song. They're not sugarcoating it at all. It's a very, very direct message. But even if you didn't know about what was going on in the band and kind of some of their inner turmoils, this could just be a message to anyone who's kind of let you down. Maybe it was like it's a toxic relationship or something, someone who's not, super cool in your life. So it could be cathartic really for anybody. But yeah, I agree. It definitely does take some pretty serious, vicious stabs and assaults at Steve Klein. I mean, talking about hooking up with girls in Boston, manipulating weak minds. It is pretty rough in that manner. But yeah, like I said, I think it's a pretty good album track. It's solid with one heck of a catchy chorus.
Yeah, to go back to something Chris said, I I noticed that too, and re-listening to this, how the it kind of goes down and up, like the da 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 da, and Selfless kind of has the down down and up da 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 da. So it was interesting that concept got modified here. Yeah, I found it interesting because it's Resurrection is like we moved on from Steve Klein, we're so much better now, and like the worst person is like, well, you know what? We have a lot more shit to say about this guy, about how much we hate him. And, like, I feel like Chad Gilbert, from what I understand, his general outlook is like being positive. Haley Williams wrote the song Rose Colored Boy about him. And I just feel like the worst person is like, he had like such issue with Steve that it was just like he just wanted to get all this out there. And I think also in part it was probably something to sing to the fan base, to maybe was like thinking at the time like, oh, Steve's having these legal troubles, and once those pass, like he'll be back in the band. And this was very much like, there is much more to this picture. This guy is a real problem. We don't want him associated with us anymore. So I think there was that message, and I do agree. Like, they don't want to talk about Steve. They don't want to think about this stuff. I don't think it's a coincidence that Resurrection and The Worst Person are songs they don't play live anymore. But I think at the time, this was what their mindset was, and they wanted to get it out there. And I think it is telling, if Chad was the primary writer, that, the other three members of the band, were, signed off on all these lyrics, because, everyone had a chance to say, you know what, we can scale this back a little bit, and apparently, as a band, they thought this was the right way to articulate it. So,
well,
yeah.
in the moment too. I mean, if you remember the charge that he was accused of was child pornography. So
but this song made very clear, like this song, this song did allude to it, but there was a lot more that they painted a very full picture that, there were a lot of problems they had with him beyond just the one charge.
Oh, I'm just saying, but seeing that line in a headline, underage pornography, you might, and you're trying to keep your band alive, you might want to make a statement song that says like, we had not, stay the fuck out. Like, this is not who we are, kind of thing. So I guess I get it. All right. I get it. I'm ready and I'm willing. Steve, why don't you kick us off? Keep going.
All right. This one's not one of my favorite songs on the album, though. Seems like the band really likes it. They actually had a second version of it on the re-released Resurrection album, Resurrection Ascension, where they actually had like other bands sing the lyrics, and I actually kind of like that one better. There's like some fun takes on it, and there's some screaming parts in it. So, I feel like when I'm listening to this, I'm listening to a somewhat inferior version of the song. They seem proud of, like, this is like their story of like growing up and like becoming a band and finding themselves. And it's like, all right, they had like the video of this song. I think they found like 4 younger actors that all resembled them, and like they pretended to be New Found Glory throughout the video, if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
I think on this album it's the most streamed song on Spotify, which doesn't surprise me too much, because I think it was the one they were pushing more than any other. I think it was the second single off the album. But I don't particularly, I never particularly liked the riff here. Despite what I said before about the ending of songs being really good here, I think going back to that opening riff and that they keep reinserting just doesn't work for me. So it's not a personal favorite. It's not a bad song by any stretch, but just not certainly not one of my go-tos on this album.
Chris,
why don't you go?
Me. Okay. This has a bit of an anthemic intro into it, if you ask me. The guitar and the drums at the very beginning, even the chorus itself, very, very anthemic. This, I'm ready and I'm willing to take you on. I like the sentiment of the song. I actually think that the lyrics are pretty good in this song. I enjoyed these, but I have to agree with Steve that if you listen to the other version of this song, this one is not really one that I'd go to. Chris, on the other version of this song, there is Ryan Key goes into Mike Herrera, into Chris DeMakes, into Chris Caraba, into Chris Conley, into Brianna Collins, who I don't know who that is, and then eventually Mark Hoppus. It's like a fucking all-star team of punk in the reimagined version of this called Ready and Willing 2. So maybe just listening to that one made me like this one even more. And I think my main comment here is this album up to this part is much more solid than I had remembered. So I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, so if you think about kind of the tracks that we've come out to at this point, I mean, the first three, the first three tracks, they're pretty dark, and they're pretty aggressive. And then this one's kind of that, high energy pop punk. It really has, good catchy rhythms, kind of, still has that little bit of a gritty vibe though. And again, it's that, they're ready and willing, they're gonna move forward. They've had some challenges. And like Steve C mentioned, the video was almost like a little play on kind of some of maybe the 5 Seconds of Summers or the boys band, pop punk boy bands that were out at that time. And I'm not a huge fan of re-recordings, but gosh, Ready and Willing too. That was just a star-studded, like you just listed off there, Steve. I mean, it had pop punk royalty on there. It was a really really great re-recording. One of my favorite parts though in this song is that bridge breakdown. It was really nice kind of chorusy harmony part to it. When my back goes out, I'll know that I did it all. And it goes on and on and on. And it's just, kind of this sing-alongy type part to the song. You can hear lots of gang vocals or this harmony type in the background. And that really, really kind of brought me in. But again, I have to say the re-recording, Ready and Willing too, there was just something about that. And the guest vocals elevated the entire song and kind of brought it to a whole new level.
All right. Well, then I will wrap this one up with a couple things. So, and I am on the correct song, by the way, this time. We are 100% on that. I thought this song would be a excellent montage video for like a skateboard competition, or like maybe like a snowboard movie, where there's the big snowboard showdown at the end of the movie against the evil executive team. I don't know, however you want to put it, but definitely like one of those, like I'm ready and waiting and test me. I don't know. Like it just seems very motivational towards a showdown at the end of a movie. So hopefully someone out there is listening to the show so they can get that idea and potentially put it in there retroactively, because I don't think we have movies about skateboards anymore. Nobody can really say this isn't a catchy song, because it definitely is. But everybody can say that even though it's catchy, it definitely is probably as much of a generic, of a vanilla, of a track that pop punk can potentially put out there. If you're wearing, I mean, this is like Trucker Hat USA pop punk 19 or 2010 through 14. Like that's what this track is to me. Nothing really that's crazy about it, other than the fact it's just maybe fun to listen to from a melody standpoint, but otherwise it just sits there. So that's where I'm at on this one. And I will I think we got through everybody, right? We can go on to the next one. I feel like I was the last one. I don't want to cut anybody here.
You're good.
But I'm gonna go on to one more round. And I think this is one of the ones where, it has the harder guitar riffs on it. And just unfortunately don't think it's enough to put this one in my good graces. It was kind of a flat melody. I thought the chorus was pretty bad. It's just something I didn't want to listen to. And overall, it just was kind of just a blah song. Like it definitely wasn't one that had anything that caught my musical attention, and I would definitely skip this one after a couple of the songs we heard prior to this. You talk about them being able to build a good melody and a good song. Like this song does not go there. It goes the opposite direction. So not enjoyable. What did you guys think?
So this was definitely one of their more simpler songs, and it was very, very repetitive. Definitely an album track just to just kind of keeps, I think it keeps the momentum of the album going, kind of like maybe like a bit of a flat line at this point in the album. Very kind of lyrically straightforward. They're not trying to, get all fancy here with any of their lyrics. I had kind of felt the same way that you did for a while, Chris, but then in the past, little while here, re-listening to this album, I've had the chorus, that one more round, it's kind of become a bit of an earworm. It is kind of this sing-along, kind of catchy chorus. So I'll find myself just kind of humming it or singing it when I'm at work or something like that. And it really reminds me of like the early 2000s. I mean, that guitar riff and those guitar leads they're pretty catchy. I wish they were a little bit longer. I feel like Chad, if he kind of stretched those out a little bit more, might have maybe, brought a little bit more life or potentially saved the song. And I love at the end where they're doing these gang vocals or these chants throughout the chorus, and then at the outro, it just kind of puts some emotion and some real feeling into the song at that part. But again, album track, fairly simple and repetitive, but again, that chorus to me was fairly catchy. I've never heard this one live, which could be cool to hear live. They could probably get some crowd engagement with this one.
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a song, I like it, don't love it. It's, good. It's like in your face, fast and driving. So it's like, total New Found Glory MO. It's probably a rare New Found Glory song where I think the pre-chorus is the strongest part. Like, when you tell me it makes me better, when you hate me, it makes me stronger. Like that's just like the one part of the song where I'm like, okay, like this I really like. This is melodic and cool. And like the last thought I had is, I feel like there have been times where New Found Glory will throw in, like, will have like a song where it's meant to be a little meta. Like, I felt like All Downhill From Here was kind of like, are they talking about like kind of like tongue in cheek about where the band's at? I definitely felt that way when they started Not Without a Fight with Right Where We Left Off. Like, they were, it was a song about a relationship, but it was kind of like, here we're picking up right where we left off. So one more round, I'm kind of wondering if it's like, we're back for another round. You try to punch us out, but we're back. You talk shit about us, or put us down. We're coming right back at you. So that was the thought I had.
Yeah, I think I agree mostly with what everybody says. They put this effect in the beginning here where they like mute the music and then they gradually bring it back. Like, I don't know what that does for a song. Like, who's like, let's do that. That'll make this song better. Overall, this one just seems a little clunky to me. It's not terrible, just kind of average. Jordan's voice is on the slightly more annoying side here. Already won. That high Jordan voice, you gotta like it. But even sometimes it gets stretched thin. The bridge I found was not particularly great, and then the one more round chants from Chad at the end, I thought they fell kind of short. So yeah, it's not terrible, just kind of average here. And that's it. So I'll go into Vicious Love here, and I have a good affinity for the song, and the reason why I really kind of found out about it is they went on this tour with they brought on the single artist Lolo, single artist, not like relationship single, but she's like by herself, whatever. And she came on and sang the song with them, and I'm like, damn, I don't know that I knew that song. That's a pretty fucking good song. And then I go home and I listen to it, and there's also an alternate version of this with Hayley Williams. And so I think we're gonna go back to that like ready and willing kind of conversation where we're maybe comparing the one with Hayley Williams to the one without. And my daughter says to me, we were listening to this in the car, the whole album a couple of times. She goes, do they always like talk at the beginning of these songs? Because this one has that spoken word or that quote thing in here. Overall, listen, this is a cheesy storytelling pop punk jam that's fueled by an awesome guitar line. And I just love it. Like, I can jam this one out. Again, the alt version with Hayley is better. I like them adding the female part. There is a killer breakdown towards the end. So I thought this one was very good. And there was like a dark, sweet kind of lyric, is living in tension with you still feels better than I've ever known. So I don't know. I picked that one out as one that I liked. I'm a fan.
What about one of you guys?
Yeah, I mean,
go
go ahead, Steve. Steve, you can go ahead, man.
Thanks, man. All right. So, like I said before, like this album was one that basically listened to, throughout, from when it came out through a chunk of 2015. And this was like my wife's go-to song on the album. Like she absolutely loved it. and it was really cool to see because it didn't. I think they did release it as a single, but it didn't really catch fire until Haley did her version, and like I think now it's like among their top 5 stream songs like ever. I think there's like more Spotify streams of the Vicious Love version with Haley Williams than there is for the self-titled version of Hit or Miss, which is insane. So yeah, it's like a fun song. Like I think you know Chad is kind of singing about his relationship with Haley, and it's like okay, we have this. There's other couples out there. They have this public display of affection thing, and they're all cute, and I'm kind of jealous of that. I wish that was us, but you know what? We have our own thing, and it's kind of rough and tumble at times. Hopefully not literally, but we have our own thing. We make it work. We're punks, whatever. So that whole thing was good, and I think it's another example of Chad like putting a positive light on something that maybe might be bothering him a little more inside than he's necessarily. Well, he's hinting at it, but he's not. That's not the theme of the song. And the last note I had was the backup vocals at the very end where it's just like monotonous. We've got a vicious love. Like it sounds awful to me just knowing that there's the Haley version where she's doing these like incredible vocal runs at the end of the song. And it's just like just listening to it now, I'm just like, oh my God, why did they think this was a good idea? So, but that's all.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a very, very playful song. Like you said, Wingman Steve, it kind of has that cheesy lyrical approach. It does kind of fit in well with the album's theme of kind of wrestling emotions and these ups and downs. But I mean, really, it's kind of a musically, it's a great kind of chugging along pop punk number. It's got that sing song riff, and for the first time on the album, I'm a bass player, so this is really where you can hear Ian Grush's kind of bass really kind of come through, kind of carry the song through some of the quieter moments. I mean, he's a great bass player. I don't think he gets some of the attention that he deserves. He knows how to sit in the pocket. He knows how to play, and to be quite honest, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I mean, every time we've seen him at a show, he gives my daughter a handful of picks, and and he talks to us forever. During COVID, he painted a picture of the Lorax for my daughter, and it took 6 songs on this album to have a little bit of spotlight on the bass itself. There is the kind of sing along bridge, and like you mentioned, that outro, to hear it in the original version, it's almost kind of this chanty monotonous drone, but man, you throw Haley on there and she just she elevates it up to the next level. And I think the song almost makes more sense with Haley because there's that male female vocal interplay, and it ties it together instead of Jordan just kind of singing with himself about potentially a female love interest. So again, I'm not a huge fan of re-recordings, but on this album, I think the 2 re-recordings were definitely positives for this band.
I did see them sing it live once with Haley, and that was pretty fantastic.
That must have been something else. Wow.
I bet. Yeah. Look, I don't want to risk you not getting all of those guitar picks anymore. So again, I just want to reiterate that all of our opinions are our own. So if Newfound Glory, anybody from the band is listening to this, continue to draw the Lorax for Andy's daughter and give him as many picks as he would like, because once again, he was a big fan of this. But Chris 183 is not a big fan of this song. It was very vicious that I had to listen to this one. This is like it's every pop punk guy and girl, like they must love this one. I could just hear them saying like to me walking down the road, like, screw you regular people, like we have spiky hair and all these tattoos and you don't. So I don't know. Like it's fine, I guess. And it seems like again, it's for fun. I don't understand why you mix tears with blood. What does that mean? Does that mean that you got punched in the eye and you're bleeding and you're crying because of that? Is that what that means? Can you tell me?
I think it just implies, physical altercation with emotional altercation, whether or not that's real or not. I think it's just a little.
Oh, that's terrible. That's awful.
kind of just
Why would you be
meta.
a fan of that though?
It's
You wanna be
conceptual. It's conceptual.
I
not
don't
literal.
want to. You want to be punched in the nose and then cry about it, and then have that mix like around your mouth and chin.
It's like in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they like shoot at each other and then they go at it. You know, it's
Oh,
like
what a
one of
great
those
message
things.
for the kids! Let's get into a relationship and shoot at each other.
But the love is what's important.
This is a pop punk dad podcast, Wingman Steve. You think I'm going to sit here and allow us to talk about this kind of stuff on a show for pop punk dads?
I didn't
Are
really.
you kidding me?
So
Again,
against it.
my wife loved this song, and she went on to become a family court judge. So it takes all types.
Well, I think that that's definitely a unique situation, and your wife just has that kind of talent, or you guys stand above. But I think for the average, definitely would not. Actually, my note is who would listen to this? Who would sit down and listen to this song? I don't know. Maybe obviously you guys will, but I don't know if there's anybody else. You might be the only ones.
That's a strong opinion.
Go to the next
Chime
song.
in. Do you like the song? Put it in the comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Persistence.
Chris is very persistent on his Newfound Glory opinions.
That's good. It's a good one. I was gonna frame it up like, I've been very persistent with keeping by listening to this, but I don't think that makes any sense. So this is this is real quick. This song to me is what forgettable sounds like. This is the personification of a forgettable song. It starts, let's see here. I don't know no, that's actually for the next song. So that's it. That's all I had. And then we'll go on to the next one. So I had nothing to say about this one. I was not a fan. Persistent.
Steve?
Talk me out of it.
Last on this one? Can I go last on this one?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Andy, you want to go ahead?
Andy.
Yeah. So I mean, like its namesake, this track, it embodies the idea of persistence and determination. It's one of those heartbreak songs about, a failing relationship. It does have that very, very kind of instantly memorable kind of sing-along chorus. Does feel a little bit more melancholy than necessarily bitter. So a little bit of a easier to swallow type love song. I really like, just right around, I think it was like the 210 or 209 mark. The band drops out and there's just kind of these clean guitars and vocals, and then there's this swell where the full band kicks on back in, and that pushing on outro, I think it does kind of drive the song, and that could be for me that musical part at 210, and then the outro might be the saving grace for this song. But again, for me, just kind of an album track, not one of my favorites, but just I think it's at a good spot at spot 7 on the album. But yeah, not one of my favorites.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say. I will just say, like, the chorus is delivered with some nice emotion. I like the chorus. The verses seem a little bit boring to me. And again, overall, I would put it a middle of the road album track. I'm not skipping it necessarily, but there's no way I'm skipping to it either.
Okay.
If we're in the car together, we're skipping this song. We're skipping
Well,
it.
I wanted to go last because I knew I would have a different take than everyone, and I could wax poetic about this song like for forever. Like, and it did not make a strong impression the first time I listened to it. It was like I think I generally had the same impressions or the first initial instincts. It's one of the few Newfound Glory songs though that I really like for the lyrics, and I think the reason why I know Stevie said the verses didn't really work for you. I don't know I just really feel like they paint a picture for me, like both of them, like just the sunlight on the bed, stripping away the fantasy that Chad has in the future about, the house wrapped in the picket fence, and the second verse where he's dreaming of his future daughter with Haley smiling behind her, and then he like wakes up and it all goes away. Like I just really feel it when he's delivering when they're singing those lines, like my heart sinks sometimes, or I'll get like chills when I hear that, which is rare for a Newfound Glory song, to be very honest. And like I feel that the bridge was really powerful with like Chad kind of facing the reality that like he's been with Haley, like he has these dreams of where this might wind up, but he kind of feels where it's going, and he's like there's this future where I'm swimming the ocean, missing you. I'd be reminded of my shame and not working out. And, it's just this gut punch, especially knowing it didn't ultimately work out, the scary future where they're heading. Although, it seems like they both found other significant others and who they're happy with. So at least there's a happy ending in that sense. But I've always felt like this is like a haunting song as far as, just kind of in a relationship that you're just kind of, you still have your dreams that it's going to go well, but just this sinking feeling like this might end badly, and that's not what I want. And I don't know, and I'll try my best to keep it going, but that might not be enough.
Might have to give this one another listen then, and feel your feels. It's possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think it was the lyrics that I thought were boring. I think it was just maybe the music, the verses, and that's why I didn't get into it. But we're all stories of a different kind, right?
We are, and so I started the last one. So one of you guys start the next one.
I had my son search for my Stories of a Different Kind book, which I'm holding up right now.
I have mine right next to me too. I was going to show it, but you do it.
So it's like a super fast song, like in your face. But
Well, hold on. For those of you that don't know, or for those of us that don't know, there might be like, what is that book? What are you trying to?
So I guess after Resurrection, I think it probably came out like 2016 because I remember they were signing it during the 2016 Warped Tour. So it's like a coffee table book, and it's got old pictures, and they write like little like stories about like shows and experiences with the band. They have got a lot of like old like show flyers and stuff. Obviously the pictures of the band, they like crop out Steve in every single one, or find pictures where that Steve's not in. And all the stories don't make any reference to Steve, but it's it's a nice coffee table book. I can't say I've looked at it much in the last several years, but
that's cool. Did you get it signed?
I didn't, because I'd already pre-purchased it, so I didn't have it. They basically had it for sale at Warped Tour, so you could buy it right there and they'd sign it. But it was already like on its way to me, so I didn't buy a second copy.
Do they do signings? Do you know if like they'll sign stuff?
They do VIP stuff on all their tours.
You do VIP at their shows or what have you. Or
I've even seen them walking around outside of the show, and if I got a poster or something, I mean, they've never said no to sign anything. So yeah, no, they're like super fan friendly. I've never been big timed at all by any of them.
Yep.
They're super cool.
Cool.
All right,
now go for it.
All right, I'll jump in the song now. Sorry about that. So super fast song. I don't think there's anything too memorable. Like I don't find it super catchy. Lyrics don't do much for me, though. I think there's another song where the part in the very end I think is the best part of a song. You'll be empty files in a trash can. That whole thing I think sounds good. I also kind of consider this, we all like have our own opinions and stuff. Like this is a song that reminds me a little bit of Vegas, not for anything like musically Vegas, which was on the self-titled, because it's like one of those songs that falls in between two songs I really like, but the song that falls in between, not crazy about. So I always feel like, can't the song just end? Like it's like it wouldn't be like a song I'd consider a skip on its own, but it's like a relative skip, because it's like it like feels like it's blunting the momentum between two songs that I really like together. So that's kind of how I think about this song. It probably would have been a long forgotten song if not for the fact they released a book with that name. So.
Mm-hmm. Andy, you go
ahead.
Yeah,
I think it's a it opens up with a little bit more of kind of a vocal intro, breaks away from kind of their formulaic, crunchy guitar openers, dives right into that, kind of edgy sound, which I think it adds some variety to the album's overall composition. I think Cyrus, the drums sound great on here. There's that chorus, stories of a different kind. It's a very, very sing-along type chorus, kind of has a bit of an anthemic feel. I did see this one, them play this one live once, and they had a bunch of crowd interaction singing back and forth. Steve C, like you said, I really like that kind of the Harmony Gang vocal outro of "You'll be empty files in a trash can, and I'll be a good find in a used bin." I think the way they kind of repeat that, and they have whoever's in the room kind of singing along with that, just sounds really, really great. I think it's a pretty solid track, and it's definitely not a skip for me. This is one I'll always let play through.
I think this is you listen to the drum beats on this song, It seems like it's exactly the same as the drum beat from Josie off of Dude Ranch. Listen to it again. I'm not gonna look at Wingman Steve's face because he always has something to say about that. But I'm telling you right now, go back and listen to it. It's the same thing. So this is a great drum beat because I really like the song Josie, and so do you guys out there. Most of you do. But unfortunately, it ruins it with a bad everything else, and that makes me sad. So I agree with Steve C. Like everything you said was true for the first part. It's the melody's not that great, and I think you said it was definitely kind of boring. I don't know. You said something about forgettable, and maybe you just said it was not your favorite melody. I'll agree with that. Can't really find anything else good about this song other than the fact that it has a good drum beat. Which, if you just kind of strip that out and just listen to that, I think it would be a good song.
Yeah,
Steve,
I like the
Wingman.
double time, like more fast, kind of hardcore vibe on this one. Usually on every Newfound Glory album, there's a couple of these, and I guess that I enjoy the song. But I wanted to ask, like, help me figure out the meanings here, right? This seems to be like a I'm in a band and I'm touring kind of song, right? Is that what we're talking about? Stories of a different kind. You do it for money, while I do it for a good time, and when you bet when it ends, I'll be full of debt, but I'll have no regrets. Is this like a I'm a poor guy in a band kind of song? Is that what we're talking about?
I assume
I mean,
kind of like the book. It's like they've collected stories from all their years of travels. I don't know, Andy, if you had any different thoughts about that.
yeah, these guys are just road warriors. I mean, they're always touring. I mean, I think they would do this if they could just barely scrape by, or if they were selling out arenas. I think they do it for just the absolute love of the music, for the love of touring and everything. So yeah, there's bands out there, there's artists out there that do it for the paycheck at the end of the day. I don't think that's what Newfound Glory is, and they're telling us in this song that, hey, we're going to be here, guys. We're always going to be touring. This is why we do it. We're here for you.
So he's
The-
talking when he's saying you do it for money while I do it for a good. Who's you? Like other bands out there, cash cow bands? Is that what we're talking about? I was
That's
I'm
that
just
you know
confused.
that's my guess. And again, if you think back to this time that this was when the boy band pop punk bands, I think we're kind of starting to kind of emerge in the scene. So maybe it's a little bit of a shout out to some of those folks, or just again, I think they're just saying, hey, we're here, we're always going to be here.
All right. Yeah,
What's
I don't know. Some of the lyrics I was trying to question. Overall, I think the song is pretty decent. You guys said it. The harmonies at the end are very, hit or miss, like a la hit or miss, where that part is going over the repeated chorus and it sounds really, really good. So I think that's probably my favorite part.
What do we consider a boy band, pop punk band? What are some examples of that?
Say like Set It Off, Water Parks, a little bit all time low. I guess the way they've
5 Seconds of Summer.
5 Seconds of
Isn't
Summer
that the
is an
Shining
example.
one?
Like Rocket Summer.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Girls Like Boys, I guess would be a good example.
They're a boy band.
Was Like Girls? Sorry, split that.
Okay.
Pop punk. Okay. I'll buy it.
Well, you mentioned that the last song sounded like Josie. This song has the same name as a Blink-182 song.
Degenerate.
That's right.
Yeah, this is what you are, Wingman Steve, for making me go
Ouch.
through this month.
Wow.
Degenerate.
That is really rude. You should apologize. Did I call
do
you
take-
names during Wee's Timber? I did not.
I can't believe you took so much offense to that. You see,
Very-
you ruined the joke by doing
Degenerate
that.
is that's
You did that on purpose. Is
that's
that
a pretty-
calculated?
that's pretty strong.
I feel like you didn't really care that much. That was all for show. You did that on purpose.
That hurt. That
Because
hurt.
then you make me feel bad. It did not hurt. There's no way.
Yeah, that was rude. Very rude. But you can
Oh,
talk about the
God.
song. That's okay. I'm gonna go get a tissue.
I kind of want the opinion of the greater populace here. I'm going back and forth on this one. My first inclination when I listened to this is it kind of just melted into everything else and didn't really like the chorus. I just can't connect with. I thought it was bad. The chorus, the verse was okay. I listened to it a couple more times, and I'm like, well, there's some merit to what I'm listening to. The guitar line through the verse. I feel like I could probably sink my teeth into a little bit more as I listened to it several more times, I still can't get into that chorus. I just don't like the music. I don't like the tonality of it. There's something about it that turns me off. But definitely, again, some other stuff on here that I gave it a second look, but I'm gonna pick out some of the things that you guys have to say. So why don't you break it down a little bit? I don't know who wants to go first, Andy or Steve, but one of you guys flip a coin.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I'll hop in. Yeah. I think this is it has a very, very kind of bouncy, chunky guitar riff, which, it took me a few listens to kind of get into it as well. I think this is one of the songs in the album that kind of shows, some of the band's more skillful songwriting. You can definitely hear Chad Gilbert's previous, heavy hardcore influences. I think the rhythm on the song is pretty good. It has a bit of a different stylistic approach. The chorus, it has a bit of a sing-alongy feel to it, and I think it's right around like the 210, 212 mark. The band drops out and there's just clean guitars and vocals for a little bit, and then the whole band kind of comes back in with this kind of harmony chorus. All I ask of you, never compromise, never let the leeches try and suck out your soul. I think that's just kind of, stating where the band is at the time, kind of what their morals are, and then that kind of repetitive, degenerate outro where they're kind of just, saying it over and over again. I think it's a good conclusion to this, bouncy, chunky guitar riffy song. I think it's a Newfound Glory song, and you can really hear that Chad was having a bit more of a heavy hand in some of the writing.
Yeah, when I first listened to the album, this was actually probably my favorite song on it. For whatever reason, it really connected with me, and I've always like been curious why, because I actually do really agree with Chris that the riff is very dissonant. It's like da na da na da. Like that's not something I think standing alone. Like I'd be like, yeah, I like that song. Like that's usually not what I gravitate to musically. So the way they're able to build a song out of that like dissonant riff, and like I like the whole song. Like I think like start to end, it really works for me. I always find it really cool when a band can take an idea which I think shouldn't work at all, and somehow it totally comes together for me. But then again, Newfound Glory is my favorite band, so I guess that they have a way of creating earworms for me. So go figure. I guess in terms of the lyrics, I think it's a very like the more you know type of song. Like guys in their early 30s sing like I don't know who the audience is. Like is it like younger fans of theirs or like a younger cousin? Like hey, don't sleep with like some creep degenerate because he's only in it because he wants to sleep with you once, and then he's a screwball. So don't do it. It's like okay, like or if that's where we're at in our lives, sure. I guess that's a good message to provide for whatever audience needs it. And the last thing in terms of lyrics I'll mention is that the poker analogy in the first verse never really made much sense to me. So it's like your heart's not a playing card. Okay, like I guess a heart is a type of playing card, but I guess in this analogy, we're saying the heart is not a playing card. Then reputation shows their hand. So I assume that means this degenerate's reputation is showing their hand. And then the next line is, so I'd fold now before you're stuck all in. And I don't know why you'd be worried about folding or being stuck all in if the other side has already showed their hand. I'm not, my brother is a professional poker player. I'm not, but I don't think, as a poker player, you would have that sort of dilemma. And I also don't think, it's a duality option generally between folding now or stuck all in. You usually do have other options. So, if we're going to like really pick apart lyrics, that one did not work for me.
I like the poker references. That one went over my head, but now I'm getting into it. We need to have a high school never ends poker tournament. I don't know where it would be, but we'll figure it out, and we'll fly people in or something like that. That'd be fun. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this song. I wrote down all these negative things that I didn't think that the guitar or the music really did anything that was particularly special. I didn't think the pre-chorus was particularly special. I thought the chorus was okay. It was not particularly special. And the bridge was okay. It wasn't particularly special. But the sum of its parts, you put it all together and it's a pretty decent song, and I enjoy listening to it. So, I don't know, take it for what it is. I don't mean to pick things apart. But when I was trying to listen and like make notes, that's kind of all I got. Is I like this song, but nothing in particular was like, this song is great. This is why I like it. I don't know if that makes any sense.
So I can explain to you, Steve, what that means. If you're going into a hand and you are representing something that you potentially don't have, you get to a point in the hand, if you stick with it and continue to bet heavy and someone continues to call or raise you, there gets to be a point where you really have no choice but to go all in because you've gone with it as far as you have. So I think, because once you get so much money in there, you don't want to fold. It's like it's a waste of your money because a lot of your money's in the pot. So you've represented, but the problem is that you kind of get this feeling if you play poker a lot when you feel like you are stuck all in because the other person pretty much has your number. Like they're not going to fold and you're going to lose. So the idea is you fold now so you don't get into that scenario when you have that feeling. I've been in that scenario where I've tried to push a pot out and I should have known better because they were always going to call me and I lost a lot of money that way. So that's kind of what he's talking about.
Gotcha. Thank
All
you
right.
for that.
So I'll kick this next one off. I don't think I've kicked one off in a while. The next song is called Angel. And I think typically songs named Angel like suck. Other than the Aerosmith song. I like the Aerosmith. I can't remember another song, Angel, that I like.
Shaggy's song Angel.
I could take it or leave it. We have super wine, Jordan, in this one. We have lazy ass fucking rhymes. I heard you talking to another 2 months later, you're calling them your mother, said it didn't matter. Now you're gonna be a martyr. Please, Newfound Glory, tell me about your spiritualism and your beliefs in the afterlife and where if heaven is going to take me or something like that. I found that this was not a good song. I don't know if any of you guys disagree, but I thought there's very few Newfound Glory songs where I'll say like this is a bad song. I think this is one where I think it's a bad song.
This one to me always sounded kind of like an adult breakup song. Like it was this powerful adult breakup song. There's the line, I'm no angel. Why would anybody want me now? Definitely, we're kind of going back to a darker tone. I mean, if you kind of read the lyrics and kind of look between the lines here, this one's kind of questioning, the hypocrisy of society, self-importance. It's challenging societal norms. But as far as Newfound Glory songs go, it's a bit grittier. It's a little more stripped down. Again, it has a really nice bass intro, just kind of chugging along. Again, showcasing Ian there. Right around there's right around the 2 minute mark. The guitars they pick up for a little bit and then they drop out and come right back in before the big outro chorus. So again, it's I liked it just because of kind of some of the nice bass work in it. But again, lyrically, it is tough to listen to. It sounds like some, 30, 40-year-olds kind of whining about a breakup. So I'm torn on it.
Yeah, I agree a lot with Steve here. This is the only song I dislike on the album. I think it's slow. I think it's lame. It's the only it's definitely a skip for me. I think the only part that sounds decent is the very end. I think it resolves to like a major chord and it flips to instead of "You're no angel" to "I'm no angel." Like it's like all right, but that's kind of like the best the song's got. And one thing I remembered in re-listening to it is there was a review that came out when Resurrection came out, and I forget I forget whose review it is. I forget what site it came from, but I remember stumbling upon it more than once. And I think in the reviewer, it was a positive review of the album, but I remember them referring to Angel. And it's like, yeah, I could see this song being like one of those songs where all Newfound Glory fans are like singing along and they're got their lighters on. It's like taking over the whole like stadium or concert venue. And I just remember like reading that being like, That is never gonna happen. This is not gonna be like a go-to Newfound Glory song live ever. This is not gonna be a crowd favorite. Like I don't know where you're getting this. So yeah, so that's what I think of when I think of Angel.
Wow, this is crazy. I cannot believe this is happening. I'm into this song. This is one I can get into. This is why like people look, if you're out there listening to the show right now, this is why you love this show. This is why you really like this one, because you weren't expecting me to like this one because these guys trashed it. I think that I like the structure of this song here. I think musically they do some really good things. I think that the the way that they have the vocals over the instrumental pieces, and it's like limited instruments or it's very subdued. It makes the beat more noticeable. You hear that beat behind it, boom, 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 and like again, it makes the vocals stand out, which aren't overly whiny. I don't think so at all. I think it just sounds great. Overall, I think this song has a lot more in terms of interesting things to listen to. And that said, the lyrics are dumb. They're just dumb. But I think the melody wins here. So I am good with this song. This is a star and a half for sure.
How about that? Always
Wow,
surprising
all right.
us.
Can you believe that?
That usually happens.
I'll just start the next one. And it's a shame because again, I thought I was back on track. But I stubborn like to me like wasn't bad. But at this point in the album, I'm so mad and pissed off that I can't enjoy this one as much as maybe I could have if it was towards the beginning. I just think it's fine. It's fine, but nothing stands out to me on this one. I don't know. Like I don't care about the lyrics. The music sounds pretty much the same as a lot of other songs on this album. So not bad. The melody's fine, but I could take it or leave it.
Did you like the guest vocal on Stubborn?
I'm not sure I knew who it was. Who was it?
It was Anthony Ranieri from Bayside.
See, I just
Right
didn't
on.
notice it. I'll have to listen to it again.
Yeah, it's like the 208, 210 mark. He comes in, and it kind of almost adds this haunting kind of vocal line. It's not much of a guest vocal, but it's a couple lines, and that to me, I'm just gonna hop in. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
That was to me was the saving grace of the song. Definitely one of their darker songs. I was doing some reading about this album in particular, and supposedly this one had something to do with bass player Ian Grushka's mindset after his divorce, which is a big topic on radio surgery. And then it's at 240 there's kind of a nice guitar solo, but again for me the saving grace is that guest vocal from Anthony Ranieri. Um,
Oh, you're
yeah.
right. I can hear it. I can hear it now. Wow. That's crazy. I wish we could play songs on the air here. Someday we can. Someday we'll have to pay the band to allow us to do that, right?
Yeah, we could. We could just do
But
it. And
now
get
that I
away with
hear that, like it changes my opinion on this song for sure. Like I don't know. Thank you, Andy. You just saved the day here. You just saved the day on the song "Stubborn." I am going to change my thought process on this one. So please hold tight while I do that.
Got it. I'll pop in here. You know, in the beginning, you guys get like you get a little bit of like a hair metal vibe from this one when it first starts, like until the vocals come in. It's funny. I thought this song sounded like another song that I just couldn't place. And the line where he's like stubborn was stubborn. That reminded me of that movie The Rocker that we did for movie Mayor. Whenever we did it, the song Bitter. Anyways, there's nothing to do with the song. I'll keep it short. The Anthony Ranieri verse sounds pretty sick, and overall, this it's a pretty good late album track. I liked Stubborn.
When you say hair metal, what are you thinking about? Like
I don't know.
Because I don't know what you're
to me.
talking about. Like Bon Jovi or Whitesnake or what are you talking about?
Yeah, all that stuff. Just
I
had
mean,
that.
you know,
Just had that vibe to me.
What vibe? Like just the guy has big hair? Is that the vibe?
No, it's more just about like the guitars, I think, and how it sounds.
Like the guitar, like the
I don't know.
you don't know?
Dude, why do you have to call me out on one little
Because the
specific
people want to
thing?
know. People want to know. I
What
mean,
sounds
it could
to
be
me like a hair metal vibe. Listen to the beginning of this track. That's what I'm talking about.
maybe the people that are listening want to know, and I'd like for you to expand on it so they can understand better.
I'm done. That's all I got.
Okay, there's nothing against you. Now you make me feel bad. Now you make me
You're
feel
very
bad.
hurtful. We can't do these
I'm not hurtful. You
things
came at
again.
me.
We can't do these things again.
You're making the guests
Can't have
uncomfortable.
nice things.
You're making them uncomfortable. They're here to give their opinion, not to be brought down by your moods.
By you.
I'm just talking. I mean, this is just a conversation. You're the one that brought up hair metal, but I'm being very positive because now actually I'm excited about this song now.
Hold on. Let me just get in my take on this one.
Go for it.
For only one more night. Ian did write this song about his divorce. I remember them saying that when I saw them play it live. And I think the song itself it's fine. It's not, a go-to song on the album, but I think it's another song, another rare New Found Glory song, but another example on this album of, ones where, the lyrics really connect with me. I think to look back at a relationship and realize, and admit that you're the one who did wrong and it's your fault for doing it. And it's too late. So your apology or your recognition, isn't going to save the relationship, but it's at least, we're not holding grudges anymore. I think it's, pretty powerful. And just the fact, I think it's really hard, to admit that to yourself. And it's even harder to admit that to, your significant other or an ex. It's even harder to put it out there in public to let, everyone know that about you. And then, this is coming from Ian, who's the band goofball, fun guy, hamming it up for the camera, taking his shirt off, for the first, 10 years of the band career, and playing with his gut hanging out, and here he is just, throwing himself under the bus and saying I was the problem here. I was the one worth leaving, basically, to quote, Postal Service. The last thing I wanted to mention was I always love crowd participation at New Found Glory shows, and I always feel like it's very simple. Jordan will make very clear when there's clapping parts or get your fists in the air for failure is not flattering and do the hey, or the call and response and hit or miss part. It'll be basically very very easy crowd participation, And then I remember when they did this song, they wanted the crowd to sing along with the oh part in the chorus, which comes up. It's 1, 2, oh. So it's on an offbeat in a weird spot. If you don't know the song at all, it's very hard. So it felt like you went from remedial crowd participation to you needed a PhD in crowd participation for this one song. So I always that always makes me laugh. So anyway, and with that,
back to you, Chris. Updated thoughts.
Steve, I think you thought we were going to skip. We were never going to skip you. There was no way. There was no way we'd have left it out of the show. So don't even think about it. You want me to talk about Living Hell, this next song? I can make so many different comments here, and I'm not going to do it because I already did. I feel like I already heard this song, guys. I feel like this was Resurrection, the song, basically. It just was already on this album. So I don't know. I kind of just listened to half of it and stopped because I just didn't want to listen to it anymore. I was really tired by the time I got to this point in the album. This tired me out. It took all the energy in the world that I had to listen to this far, and I didn't have much left. So I figured I'll listen to half of it, and then I'll have at least half left for the last song. So I didn't get anything out of this one. I kind of wanted it to be over. It definitely, maybe Living Hell is a little bit strong. It definitely was close to getting to a Living Hell for me, getting to this point. So hopefully you guys can be a little bit more positive than me.
Go ahead, guys.
I've always considered this song something of a hidden gem on this album, at least musically. I have issues with the lyrics. I think it's kind of a weird, kind of stalkery song. it's like guys are in your early 30s now. We can't be doing the stuff that like Taking Back Sunday and Hawthorne Heights were doing when they were kids. Like we should be moving past that. We're not like, gonna make your girlfriend's like new boyfriend, life miserable. We should be on that. We should be beyond that part of our lives right now, right, guys. But I guess like, and also like I feel like we've come a long way from Selfless. Like we're it's like, oh, I want to live a good life, and now we're like stalking people or making everyone uncomfortable. But I guess calling back to Selfless, maybe now we have our answer as to why Chad's not getting sleep, between touring musician, trying to do good things, and then staking out his girlfriend's new boyfriend's house, in his car with binoculars in the middle of the night. I guess he will need to catch up on some sleep. So that's all.
I like how you tied that back together. I didn't really have a ton about this song. I found the guitar line in it to be a bit janky. It has this, I don't know, it feels like it's pulling me left and right. I don't know exactly why, but it didn't hit me very well. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't as bad as Angel, but not, I don't know if it's a hidden gem or it's album track snuck in that maybe didn't need to make it, but it's okay. Andy, what do you think?
So I'm gonna kind of echo with what a lot of you guys said. Definitely feels like an album track to me. It's energetic, it's fast, it has that somewhat of a classic pop punk ethos, but I felt like it was kind of leaving me wanting more. The lyrics were kind of janky. I felt like it was maybe like a high school band kind of might have written some of these lyrics. If I can't have you, I'll make sure no one will. Can I give you a ride back home? You can tell me where I went wrong, then I promise I'll never let you down again. Again, these guys are grown ass adults. I feel like we could have had a bit more of lyrical artistry there. But again, it's a good song, and right around I think it was 125, 130, the band drops out. There's some nice clean vocals and a nice little Ian bass part in the background. But kind of like what everybody else said, album track. I don't get excited for it to come on. And if it's in the background, I'll also let it play through.
I think that's everybody. And we're on
Yes.
the last track. We're ready
The
to end
one.
this. We're not going to do the extras, the ones from Ascension. But On My Own, who wants to start this one off?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like New Found Glory is usually has a lot of really great end songs. I feel like this one's not necessarily a great end song. It's kind of mid. I think it's the least strong stream song on this album, and I can understand why. I'm not really sure if this is about the end of a relationship or about the something about the band, but it's kind of a middle of the road song, I think, overall, and not one I particularly think about a whole lot. I think the main takeaway is I think this was the first time I ever heard of Turnstile, which was cool given how they blew up several years later. So that's all I have to say on that song.
Are they doing the like rap thing at the end? Is that them?
I think so.
Yeah, right around like 155, 156, Brendan Yates of Turnstile comes in and gives this nice hardcore breakdown with a real strong drum and bass that kind of power through that part. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, cool. I think yes. So the on my own is very repetitive. The chorus is a little bit long. I didn't find that Sum 41-ish rap thing to be very good, but somehow I still did like the song. And even if it's not the strongest closer of their albums, they do usually have pretty good closers, and I think this one was pretty decent here. So I'm happy with it.
Go ahead, Andy.
I'll echo kind of what you guys said. Not the best NFG final track. I mean, you come from something like The Story So Far, which I think is, high mark for some of their final tracks. And this one, it's okay. It's a strong note of, this idea of empowering, who's ever listening to forge your own path, this idea of kind of self-resilience. It does sound like, though, at the very, very end, they're firing some final shots at former guitarist there, Steve Klein. I'd open doors, you'd close them. I'd have ideas, you'd claim them for your own. So I'll erase your name, start again, erase your name, and do it again on my own. So it feels like we had to just go and kind of kick him one more time when he was potentially already down. But again, good good final track. I like the addition of kind of that hardcore breakdown with Turnstile there, and then the outro. There's kind of this neat production trick where it kind of like cuts out progressively. It's almost like, the tape or the record is just slowing down before it just kind of drags and slows down. So again, good song. Nice NFG final track.
Just keep listening to him saying "my own" a million times in a row. My own, 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 my own. I can't take it. Can we be done? Can we be done with this now?
The good news is we are done.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. My note was actually, can we be done? And my own, my own, my own. That's the only notes I had here for this one. So that's why I kind of let you guys carry this, because I wanted to be out of this one. I hit the eject button. Couldn't do it.
Well, we made it through the album for the most part. It doesn't sound like this is one of your favorites, Chris, but I think this was an important part of the Newfound Glory journey. So I'm glad that we did it.
I do too. I think that, as we take a look at some of these albums that we've never really sat down and done the entire album before, it's worth going to this one because a lot of people talk about Resurrection. And honestly, like if I would have never gone through this exercise, I wouldn't know how much I dislike it. So I think it's nice to be able to finally just kind of understand that, right? To finally understand that and be able to speak to it moving forward. So I'm okay with that.
All right.
But I would be interested to know if where this one does rank with all of the other albums. But before we do that, speaking of rank, I think it's time for ranking it, ladies and gentlemen. If you've never listened to High School Never Ends before, this is the part in the show that we like to rank our favorite tracks on the album that we talk about, or whatever the subject matter is for the day. Today, we're talking about the album Radio Resurrection. I want to talk about Radio Surgery. I prefer to talk about Radio Surgery, but we're talking about this Resurrection. So, guys, in order from 3, 2, 1, give us your top 3 favorites. And we usually start with the guests, and we have 2 of them today. So I will just start in alphabetical order of the first name. Andy, you are up first.
All right. So I'm gonna throw a little spanner in the mixer. I am gonna throw an honorable mention in. I'm gonna say Angel's gonna be my honorable mention. I like it, the simplicity, the bass line, really kind of showcasing Ian. Number 3, it's going to be Vicious Love, but it's going to be the Haley Williams version. Number 2 is going to be Ready and Willing, but the second, the re-recording, just because I love all those cameos of that A-list of kind of pop punk royalty. And then for me, the number 1 track on this album, and again, partially it is because my daughter and I sing this quite frequently together in the car on the way to school, is going to be Stories of a Different Kind. Again, it just kind of hits me in all the feels. And when this album first came out, she was 1 or 2, and we would be driving to daycare. And now over the past couple of weeks, re-listening to it, she's been singing along to Stories of a Different Kind. So that one just kind of sticks with me.
Awesome. That was nice. And good top 3. You did break the rule of the honorable mention. You're taking the Wingman Steve path here. So you definitely don't want to. You definitely don't want to take that path. I can tell you that much, because that's the wrong one. But you did. So next, let's go to Steve C. And Steve, I am eagerly awaiting what your top 3 is, because I could not predict what it could be. So
I liked a lot of songs of this album, right? I will say, if the Resurrection Ascension songs were eligible for my list, there would be a different number 1. But if we're sticking to original Resurrection, I could not decide between. I wanted to land on a true number 3. Degenerate and Persistent, I didn't feel right leaving either one off. I like them both for very different reasons. As mentioned, Degenerate, I just like the whole song. I like how it feels, and Persistent is just a song that touches me on an emotional level, and hearing it live, I have fond memories of that, and it's just a song that I connect to while at the same time, Degenerate was just the song that made the great first impression for me. So tied for three between those two. Number two, Selfless is my number two. Just sets up the tone of the album. It's gonna be in your face. It's gonna, we're back to, the easy core, Newfound Glory. Back in the Not Without a Fight sort of sound. With those full guitars and just in your face driving melodies and riffs. And yeah, it's another one that I love hearing live. And number one, I will go with the title track of Resurrection. Absolutely love the chorus, love the song. Another one that is great live. And as I said before, Resurrection as an album, just I totally connected with based on where I was in my life, and resurrecting my love of Newfound Glory, and just hearing them kind of conquering their demons, whatever they were struggling with, in terms of the members of the band. And like, what, we've got good years ahead of us. We like where we're at. And I think that's, proven to be the case. Is, I've seen them many times over the last 10 years, and they've still got it. They're just an incredible band. So my number one is the Resurrection track.
So it's a solid list, Steve, and it just is quite a coincidence that your number one is the one that I did not even know was on this album because I skipped it. So, all right. Well, Wingman, I think I will give you the honors of going last because you are a little bit more of a fan of this band than I am. So here we go with my top three. And I'll tell you what, because of what Andy did on this show, I am going to jumpstart. I know I was critical. I know I was somewhat critical of this song, but because of that piece of information that I was unaware of, and I'm one to always be able to admit when I was wrong, and I was wrong about this song initially, but upon gaining that piece of information and listening to it again, I am going to make Stubborn my number 3 song on this album. Things change fast on High School Never Ends, and this is a good example of that. So number 3 is Stubborn because I really like Bayside, and the fact that they play a part, they have a hand in this song, definitely shoots it up the ranks. Hey guys, number 2 for me is Angel. I know everybody here trashed this one. You definitely did not like it, but I did. Maybe I just have different tastes. I don't know. But for whatever reason, this one sounded great to me. And I already gave those reasons. So go back and listen to why if you missed it. And number one, I'm just gonna go ahead and give it to Selfless. I'm a fan of how this album kicks off. I said that. I was optimistic. I was really, really just hoping that this would be an album I could build on, that I could build on the last album, and this first song gave me that hope that I was hoping for, that I was looking for. It didn't quite turn out that way, but we'll give it to this first song because it at least gaslighted me into thinking that I was going to be able to get there. So good for you, Newfound Glory, for doing that to me. And good for you, Selfless, for being my number 1 song.
All right, I guess that leaves me, and this was not particularly difficult, to be honest with you. And I know that we talked about some different versions, but for number 3, I'm going Ready and Willing, both versions. I think sometimes maybe when you know the other version is there, you kind of, even though it's lesser than, you still like it a whole lot. So yeah, that pop punk all-star cast, even the regular version, it's got a lot of energy, and Ready and Willing is number 3. Number 2 is going to be Selfless. Again, you guys said it all. It's just a banger of an opening track. And my favorite song is going to be Vicious Love. I like the other version better, but I still like this version, even though it's much better with the harmonies. And again, it's just like, I heard that song once, it got stuck in my head, and I'm like, this is a fucking good song. And so I'm giving Vicious Love my number 1.
Sweet. That really wasn't that hard. I think that I thought it was going to be a little bit harder for you guys because you definitely liked a lot of songs in this album, but good for you. We got our top 3s in there. And I think that kind of brings us to the final thoughts. And man, this is the end of Newfound November, isn't it? So we
Maybe,
kind of have to.
maybe it'll be extended.
Well, the reason I say that is, do we have to give? We think about this. Do we have to give how this album compares to the rest? Let's just say in generalities right now. Let's forget about what we did in Newfound November. For Andy and Steve, you guys are super fans of this band. How does this album, Resurrection, compare to the rest of the catalog? We want to know.
So I guess for me, I would consider their first three albums, on their own tier at the top. I have my preference for how I'd order them, but at the very least, I think those were the top albums for me. Nothing Gold Can Stay, Self-Titled, and Sticks and Stones. For my taste, I know there are a lot of Newfound Glory fans that love Catalyst. I'm not as big of a fan of Catalyst. So Resurrection belongs, in my view, belongs in their second tier. It's probably my fourth favorite album. It's pretty close between this and Not Without a Fight. So I would put it in the second tier below the first three albums. And I won't mention the third album that I'd consider borderline that second tier, because I know Steve wouldn't be happy to hear it.
Uh-oh. Oh my
Say
God.
it. No, just say it. Say it.
Well, I've heard him bash it numerous times. So I do like quite a few songs on Forever Never, Times Infinity, even though I understand all the criticism of the lyric writing in that album.
Hey man, you like what you like. Don't worry about him. I'll take care of him. You worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't know anything about that album. I didn't listen to it, but definitely, again, some polarizing thoughts. Good stuff. What one more thing for you before we let you go? What is the last album on the list? Just out of curiosity, what is the bottom of the barrel?
So I think most Newfound Glory fans would say Makes Me Sick. For me, it's probably between Makes Me Sick and Coming Home, although I have come around a lot on Coming Home. But, Coming Home is like a slower, emo-y, not as in your... So they get away from the like, bread and butter, what I've always liked Newfound Glory for. So there are some really good songs. There are good songwriters. They come up with really good riffs. But, there's more songs that I consider skips on that one. And Makes Me Sick is an uneven album. So those are, I could go between those two albums as being my least favorite, assuming we're sticking with just the full lengths and not, the Christmas album. I'm not gonna go into. I don't even know if I've ever listened to it all the way through. So
full length only. And it's funny because one of the guys that come on our show, I think it was the first episode. I believe Coming Home was like his favorite, wasn't it? Sam?
Yeah, a lot of Newfound Glory fans, will sing high praises about Coming Home. A lot of, it was bashed, I think, a lot when it came out because it was such a departure, but a lot of fans feel really strongly about it. So, and I get it because it's grown on me a lot over the years too. But still, I like all of Newfound Glory, so it's just
Sure.
every album there are 4 or 5 songs that I really like. So it's just up curve.
There's got to be a last one. Okay, Andy, you've been waiting patiently. So what say you on where this album ranks?
Well, I'm going to mirror a lot with what Steve C just said. This for me kind of falls right in the middle of their catalog. I'm that first cohort of albums, Nothing Gold, self-titled, Sticks and Stones, and I would actually put Catalyst up there as kind of being like the Mount Rushmore of Newfound Glory albums. The kind of my big four. This one would probably just kind of come just underneath that one. Along with their live album. I like live albums, and their live album, Kill It Live, I think it's one of my more favorite live albums. It's almost a greatest hits kind of live album, but the album sounds great. It's recorded really well, and they do include some extra tracks on there. So again, kind of right in the middle for me. Again, if it comes on my Spotify, I'll leave it on. I'll let it play through. Yeah, so it's just, again, it's solid album.
And do you have a bottom of your list identified?
Well, I think Steve and I are best friends already, because we had I would say probably the same bottom two. Coming Home is definitely more of a, I think Newfound Glory was trying to, show their more mature side, maybe appeal to some of their older or their aging fans. Again, it was okay. I listened to it. Of course, I bought it, but it's not one that I will rush to throw on. And then Makes Me Sick just seems to be a very dichotomous album. It's kind of confusing to me. I think the band was being pulled in multiple directions. And again, it didn't click with me 100%. So those two would be kind of more towards the bottom. But again, I will, if they come on, I will listen. I'm not throwing them in the fire, but I will listen to them if they come on. There's always something. There's always something on an album to enjoy,
Sure.
even from Forever Infinity. I do like that one as well.
For sure. Wingman Steve, do you want to weigh in here?
Most of the same. To me, the earlier Newfound Glory cannot be beat. I liked Coming Home, but everything before Coming Home, absolutely fantastic. I liked Coming Home better than these guys, not as much as those people that are like favorites. And then that middle stuff, Not Without a Fight, Radio Surgery, Resurrection, Makes Me Sick, Forever and Ever Times Infinity. Those are all like on the lower end. But I will say, having listened to Not Without a Fight and Resurrection more times for our show here, I think that they have given me, they've bumped those up to like the top of the middle tier, if you will. And Forever and Ever Times Infinity was garbage. Makes Me Sick was pretty garbage. And I didn't particularly like Radio Surgery either. So that would probably be like my bottom. But yeah, this is solidly in the middle.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for that. I'm not going to weigh in. I have to think about this. I don't want to put all of them. I don't want to put every single album at the bottom. I don't want to do it.
Something has to go to the top. I
think that's possible. Well, I've been fairly fond of a couple songs here and there. So there's been a smattering of songs that I've been happy with. So we'll have to take a look at that again.
I'm glad you enjoyed your time.
Maybe I'll write that up and we'll post it on the something wherever. I don't know. Somewhere I can post it.
Okay.
Where can I post?
Blue Sky Social.
Is that something people use?
I don't know. Maybe I just made one for us because I saw some people sharing it. I don't really know what it is. I think it's an alternative to Twitter.
Well, Wingman Steve, I think that does it. What do you think?
I think that's it. Newfound November was fun. Chris, thanks for playing along. I think this was great. We started at the very beginning. We didn't get fully to the end. We only had 4 weeks. But I thought this was super fun and got to listen to a couple albums that I was not as familiar with, a couple ones that I know like the back of my hand. And thank you guys for joining us along the way.
Yeah, thanks, Andy and Steve. You guys are great. Hopefully you enjoyed being on the show. And I want to thank you for your analysis of this album. Definitely some awesome commentary from both of you. So appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a blast. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Glad to have you back again, and glad to have all of you guys out there back again listening to the show. If you like what you heard, if you liked Newfound November, if you're a fan of Newfound Glory and you want to hear more from Steve and I, then let us know. Let us know. If you have Apple, go on to Apple Podcasts and give us a written review. Let us know what you liked about the show. Give us a 5-star review. It helps the show for sure. And if you want to support us at the High School Never Ends podcast, one of the best ways you can do that is to check out our shop. There's some really cool things in there. The holidays are right around the corner. The way to get there is through our hub. Go to www.hsnepod.com, and that will connect you with all of those great items from the High School Never Ends shop.
That's right. We're on socials at HSNEPod, like High School Never Ends Pod, or go to hsnepod.com and you can find the links to our Discord, join the server. We have a Patreon now. If you want to know what's coming up in December, we have a bonus episode that all of our patrons have availability to right now. And we also have bonus episodes. So check that out. It's patreon.com/HSNEPod, and new theme next week, but we will be back with a new episode. Until then, keep on rocking your dad bods, throw up your rock hands, and blast the pop punk.
Hey, thanks for listening to Dragon Wagon Radio. If you're enjoying this show, check out DragonWagonShop.com and get yourself some sweet merch while supporting your favorite indie podcast network. That's DragonWagonShop.com.
Dragon Wagon.